we're going to talk about something fun. Fishing line. Alright, the most underutilized, probably the most underutilized piece of fishing equipment you'll ever use. Sorry, this chair is going to squeak the whole time. I apologize. So let's go through lines and what line I use for what, and the good and the bad and the ugly. First thing I'll start with is, let's go with the Seaguar invisx 100% fluorocarbon. This is the yellow and blue label. I use the invisx and a brazex. This is in 15 pound. This is good line, okay? You can find cheaper line is going to be much cheaper. So if you're buying like at Walmart or something like that, that line is cheap for a reason. It's almost like hay. It's really hard. It's cheap fluorocarbon. It's gonna break much easier. It's gonna not last nearly as long, and it's gonna harden up, and it is gonna create some line memory, which real fluorocarbon should not create line memory. Okay. 15 pound Seaguar invisx. This is what I use for my jigs. 15 pound. I also use 16 pound FC Sniper, which looks like this. Sunline FC Sniper. These two are probably the best two lines that you can buy. They're both amazing. They're expensive, but I'll tell you a little trick of what you can do to cut down on the cost of it. So instead of spoiling up your entire reel, so you know you're putting the line in, you're spooling it up, and you spool up the entire reel. Buy like some braid, like 10 or 20 pound braid, something like that, and fill up that spool about halfway. Okay, and then tie your fluorocarbon to your braid, and then fill the rest of the spool. That way, you're only filling your spool with 50 yards of braid or fluorocarbon instead of doing the entire 140 yards or whatever it is. That's going to let you fill that up 4 times versus being able to fill it up once for the same price. Okay, and then when you need to change your line, just take that off, cut the braid, and then retie it to the braid again and do it again. So jigs, 15 pound invisx. Seaguar, this line is super soft, it's super sensitive, you'll feel everything, and it's very thin diameter, unlike mono, which I don't use for anything. Mono is very hard, it stretches so much, it's terrible line. You don't want to use mono for anything, okay? invisx, good line, okay? Okay, now this is the line you do not want to buy, okay? That is Berkeley Vanish. This is the cheap stuff that they sell at Walmart, okay? This line is trash. Don't use it, okay? You'll be more pissed off and you'll hate fluorocarbon because of this line. It's cheap. Now, this, I mean, it's hard. It's almost like hay, and it just breaks really easily, okay? And it creates memory. You don't want this line. Don't buy this line, okay? Another good line here that I use is Trilene 100% professional grade fluorocarbon. This is also an amazing line, okay? Now, if you're going to go and buy fluorocarbon, I suggest you buy Trilene fluorocarbon, Seaguar invisx or brazex, FC Sniper, which is made by Sunline. Out of the 3, Sunline FC Sniper is by far my favorite, okay? So, buy that one. Now, as far as braid, this is the braid that I use. It's P-line TCB Teflon coated braid. Okay, this is 80 pound test. I don't ever use this. I don't even know why I bought it. I use 30, 40, and 50 pound braid for all of my topwater. Everything topwater. If I'm throwing a walking bait, or I'm throwing, something small, a popper or something like that, or a buzz bait, I'm going to go with 30 pound. If I'm throwing a frog and I'm throwing it in heavy cover and everything, heavy pads, thick grass, I'm going to use that in 50, okay? 30 and 50, this is the line type. that I choose. Okay, now Sniper, FC Sniper is what I use for almost everything else. Okay, this is 8 pound FC Sniper. This is for my drop shot. Now, when you're throwing a drop shot, what I do first is I'll take, first of all, this braid is what I use on all of my heavy stuff. Let's say that, okay? The braid that I use for my fluorocarbon, or for my drop shot, is high visibility yellow. It's a brand made by Daiwa, and I believe it's called something 4X. They have an 8X and a 4X. You only need the 4X, and I buy it in high vis yellow. And the reason for that is because on your drop shot, you want to be able to see your line, okay? Now, the yellow you'll see on top of the line, so you can keep track of where your line is. However, the fluorocarbon you're not going to see at all, okay? Or if you have green braid, you're not going to see that at all. High vis yellow, you'll be able to see your line all the time. I use that in 10 pound, and then I tie that to an 8 pound fluorocarbon leader. By far, as I said before, FC Sniper is the absolute best line that you can buy, in my opinion. Okay, I've tried all of them, and it just flat out works. It's soft. It doesn't have a lot of memory. It lasts an extremely long time. It's awesome line. It's really abrasive resistant too, which is incredible. You should be retying often. I will put it that way. You should retie often, no matter what kind of line you're using. But you definitely want to do it when you have fluorocarbon, especially because it can kink up. And if it kinks up, it's going to weaken the line, okay? So, my drop shot, I'd use the Daiwa brand, the FX4. I think it's FX4. I'll try to figure it out before I put this video up, okay? It's yellow, high vis yellow. You can't you can't miss it. Like I said, you can see it perfectly on top of the water. You can follow your line easily. It is extremely sensitive. The smaller diameter line, the more sensitive it's going to be, okay? So those are my line choices. Now, like I said, so if you want to know what I use what for, I'll just go through the lineup, okay? 8 pound, the only thing I use this for is a drop shot. Simple as that, okay? I have 12 pound. 12 pound is what I use on a drop shot. Motherfucker. Is what I use on a drop shot on a casting rod. If I'm throwing it on a casting rod with a 3/8 ounce in deeper water, I'm going to use the 12 pound FC Sniper. Okay? That's the only thing that I use 12 pound for. That and cranking. Cranking, I use 12 pound as well. Same line. So we have 8 and 12. 14, I use in open water with jigs. If I'm throwing jigs in open water or super clear water, I'll use 14 pound. Okay? I don't necessarily really choose 14 pound. Most of the time, I go with 15 or 16. Okay? So the only time that I use the 15 pound invisx, which is a lot, and the only reason I do that is because it's the only line that I feel like is as good as FC Sniper, but they don't make it in a 15 pound. They make it in a 14 or a 16, okay? So 14 pound I'm going to use in clear water, throwing a jig in open water if I'm fishing rock and stuff like that. If I'm throwing it into heavy cover like trees, heavy brush piles, I don't want to use 14 because it'll break too easily. 16 pound FC Sniper. Well, let me go to the 15 first. 15 pound, like I said, I use this most of the time on jigs. Almost all the time on jigs. And spinner baits. I'll go back real quick. Another thing is jerk baits I use on 12 pound line as well. And the reason why is because I want it to get down to the depth that it's supposed to run at. If you use heavier line, it's going to keep that bait sitting too high, okay? So you want to use light line for jerk baits. This is the other one that I said is a good brand, the Berkeley Trilene. You can use this one in any size. It'll work good too. And then the last one is 16 pound FC Sniper. I'm going to use this in heavy cover, flipping grass, flipping pads. I'm using 16-pound FC Sniper. It's strong line. It's much stronger than the 14. I'm going to use this on everything application as far as flipping. Chatterbaits, I would much rather use 16-pound, or a swim bait, I'll use 16-pound, or any deep fishing or structure fishing, I'm using 16. And that's about it. Those are the lines that I use 100% of the time. I don't ever switch it up. I don't ever use monofilament. It's garbage. I don't use braid for anything except for a drop shot and a top water. That's it. I don't ever use braid on jigs or flipping, and the reason why I don't do that is because it affects the way that the bait falls. I want that bait to look natural. I have a really good big confidence in fluorocarbon, and when I'm throwing braid, if I'm flipping with braid, which a lot of guys do, and they catch fish, so I'm not saying that's not going to work. For me, I have much more confidence in that fluorocarbon than anything else, so I'm going to use that. It also allows your bait to fall naturally, which is entirely purposeful. That is the most important thing that you can get out of anything that I tell you, is that bait must fall naturally. That's why I say when you flip a bait out, if you're leaving your line too tight, the bait isn't falling naturally. When you have that little bit of line out, that's going to allow that bait to fall straight down, so it looks natural. That's huge. And I think, one more tip is to use line conditioner. This is the line conditioner that I use. It's the Kevin Van Dam's line and lure conditioner. I've tried several of them, and this is the one that I like. Real snot, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I don't know if it works or not, but I do know that my hand slips off of that reel every single time I've tried to use it. It is way too slimy. I don't like it. The line and lure conditioner dries pretty fast. It keeps your line conditioned so it doesn't create any memory, and it also allows you to make a little bit further casts. I'm not sponsored by either one of them, so I wouldn't tell you this if it didn't work, okay? I pay for all of this. So, line and lure conditioner, Kevin Van Dam, by far the best one you can buy. The junk at Walmart is basically WD-40 in a can. Don't use WD-40. It stinks. It doesn't work. It's not supposed to be on fishing line, okay? Use the line and lure conditioner. That's huge. So now, how I use that is when I'm spoiling up my line, every couple turns of the reel, I'll spray it. And then I'll reel a couple more lines, spray it again. Turn it. And then every couple days as you're fishing, you want to, put a little bit more on there. Try to do it the night before that you fish, because if you do it the same day, it's going to be a little bit slippery. Okay, so if anything, if you're using it the same day, once you spray it on, just take a little bit of a rag and just kind of dab at the spool and wipe the reel. That way, when you go to, jack them, you're not slipping off the reel handle, or when you cast, your hand's not slipping off the reel. And that one is probably the least slippery out of all of them, that will not slip off your hands. So that's it for my line. That's my choices. If you guys have any questions, hit me up, let me know. Share the videos, and if you like the video, give it a like, thumbs up, and leave me a comment if you guys need anything answered. All right, I'll talk to you soon.